So there's a particular word that I want to focus on today, and that is honor. And at first glance, actually, the word has lots of positive meanings, going all the way back in history to its Latin roots. It can mean respect, dignity, and I think in that regard, we all want to be treated with dignity, with respect. That is a very universal demand and a very existential need, and one that I really, really find important in this age of deepening and widening inequalities. I think there's a cry for dignity and honor in that regard that I find important. However, when you look at the word more closely, there are some other layers of meanings that the word entails, and I think we need to unpack them, because there's a gender component within the word that I find quite troublesome. Again, when you go back to English dictionaries, for instance, you will realize that the term could also mean feminine purity or a woman's chastity. And those of us who are coming from intensely, extremely patriarchal lands and cultures, we know too well what that could mean in women's daily lives. Today, all across the world, so many women and so many girls are being suppressed in the name of honor. It's not only girls and women, though, I have to add. Men, especially young men, who do not conform to given descriptions of masculinity, who do not fit into that mold, they also find it very hard. And sometimes they're also punished in the name of honor. What kind of honor? Family honor, tribal honor. This collective abstract notion of honor becomes much more important than individual human beings' happiness and freedom and their right, their basic human right to live. So I want to take a closer look at this word. I think we're living in a world in which, unfortunately, there are so many so-called honor killings. And it's a constant teaching that tells women, especially women, to behave in a certain way. Watch out, the length of your skirt, what you're wearing, where you are, at what time of the day. It is the kind of rhetoric that puts the entire burden on the victims of violence rather than the perpetrators of violence. And that is why I think we need to stop using the word honor in honor killings. If I may add this very quickly, this is a theme that I have dealt with a lot in my own writing. One of my earlier novels is called Honor. It is the story of a half Turkish, half Kurdish immigrant family living in the UK. And I especially wanted to focus on the relationship between mothers and sons. And I think in many ways we raise our children differently depending on their gender. We treat our sons sometimes like sultans in the family, don't we? And we expect them, or we teach them, that they need to keep an eye on the chastity of their female relatives. What kind of a teaching is that? So I wanted to also explore, all these patriarchal teachings of masculinity and femininity and how that destroys our humanity in the long run. I believe that, of course, in patriarchal settings, there's no doubt that women are unhappy, they're not free. But I also want to say that men are unhappy as well. And I think this is not a zero-sum game. If we can smash patriarchy together, it will be good for men and women, for everyone together. But coming back to the term honor, we need to stop using the term honor killings. There are other terms we can use. For instance, femicide, family femicides, and perhaps more importantly, family hate crimes. Because anyone who doesn't fit into expected norms can be punished in the name of honor. And if we keep using it in this way, it gives a rhetorical legitimacy to the perpetrators of violence. They say in the courtroom, well, I did it for our honor. So we need to take that power, that rhetorical power away. That is why my suggestion is, let us not use the term honor killings from now on. Let us use family femicides. Let us use hate crimes. Let us call it what it is. But please, let us realize that there is and there can be no honor in any kind of murder or hatred or discrimination.